In this video, I'm sharing how I spent 3 days in New York City in the month of November. It was my son's first time in the Big Apple, and we covered a lot of ground, but we definitely want to come back since there's so much more to see. After our 5-hour flight from San Diego to New York City, we took a taxi from JFK Airport to our hotel in Times Square. We were on the 32nd floor and within walking distance of many of the Broadway theaters and other famous New York landmarks. On our first night, we walked to the center of Times Square. Then we found an Italian restaurant called Trattoria Tricolore, and I had linguine pasta with clams. My son had a chicken parm sandwich, and we had tiramisu for dessert. We saw an electrifying show called Six at the Lena Horne Theater. It was awesome. Breakfast was included at our hotel, so the next morning we got an early start and walked the streets of New York as we explored the city on our way to Central Park. We're here in Central Park and it's 28 degrees. And for a San Diego girl, this is way too cold, but it's okay. It is gorgeous here. We did a lot of walking in New York City, so make sure to wear comfortable shoes and definitely bundle up for the weather. It is cold in November, but so beautiful. Next, we walked to Pier 83. We took a Circle Line boat tour to see some of New York's famous landmarks. I highly recommend this boat tour on the Hudson River. The tour guide shared some interesting information about the history of New York City. We saw the Statue of Liberty. We were able to pass through underneath the Brooklyn Bridge. Saw great views of the New York City skyline, Manhattan, New Jersey, Hoboken, 42nd Street, Wall Street, and the famous skyscrapers of the New York City skyline, like the Empire State Building, the One World Trade Center, the Edge, and Summit One Vanderbilt. After our boat tour, we walked for about 45 minutes to get to the famous Joe's Pizza. My son wanted to try it since it was featured in the Spider-Man movie. It had a crispy, thin crust, and the pizza was really good. From there, we took a lift to the 9/11 Memorial. It's hard to imagine what September 11th must have been like for all of the people whose names are engraved in this memorial. It was such a solemn and sad experience to look back on this tragic event. We took a lift back to our hotel to get a little rest. Then we had dinner at Haswell Greens. This is a cute restaurant that is right next to the Neil Simon Theater. We enjoyed a great dinner and had a delicious dessert of creme brulee. We watched the Michael Jackson musical at the Neil Simon Theater. It was filled with great singing and dancing, and the actor who played Michael Jackson was awesome. On our last day, we had a lot to see, and our first stop was Rockefeller Center. We were hoping to see the Christmas tree, but they were still setting it up. There were people waiting in line to go ice skating at the ice rink. We also passed by the NBC studios where they filmed the Today Show. We saw a smaller holiday tree on display on our way to Macy's. It was a busy street since they were setting up the cameras and decorations for the famous Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. We wouldn't be able to see the parade live, but we'll watch it on TV. Next, we wanted to check out the New York Public Library. We passed by and saw there was a line for a free tour, so we decided to go in and take the tour. The library was founded in 1895. But the majestic Beaux Arts building on 5th Avenue and 42nd Street opened in 1911. It is famous for the pair of marble lions standing in the front of the building. This library is known for being a premier research center with extraordinary historical collections. Next to the library is Bryant Park. During the holidays, it is transformed into a winter village with holiday shops, an ice skating rink, and a tree lighting show. Next, we had our Lyft driver take us to the Grand Central Terminal. The terminal opened in 1913, and today this landmark is a retail and dining destination area, as well as the home of the Metro Railroad and subway stations serving many subway lines. One of Grand Central's main attractions is the four-faced opal clock, which sits in the center of the main concourse above the information booth. Next, we were excited to visit the Summit Observation Deck at 1 Vanderbilt. The entrance is inside Grand Central, and when we arrived, they gave us coverings for our shoes because we would be walking on glass and mirror floors. The Summit 1 Vanderbilt opened in 2020, and it is a 93-story skyscraper that is the fourth tallest building in New York City. I chose this observation deck not only so that we could see the amazing views, but because it also included an immersive art experience. We really enjoyed our time at the summit. Not only did we see amazing panoramic views, but going into each of the rooms, experiencing the art was really cool, especially having to walk along the mirrored floors and seeing the ceilings and walls reflecting the city, and going into the next room with the silver mylar bubbles floating around with air circulating to make them move. Next, we were brought into a room with clouds. It was a movie screen with sound effects and wind blowing, But as we looked closer, we noticed our faces magically appeared within the clouds. To be honest, it was a little freaky. We really enjoyed visiting the summit. It definitely is one of the highlights of our trip. Later that night, we had dinner at Beast and Butterflies. This is a rooftop restaurant and bar located inside the M Social Hotel. The restaurant is also nearby the Winter Garden Theater, which is where we were going to watch our last show. It had an amazing view of Times Square. We decided to order appetizers, so we had garlic knots, crab cake sliders, chicken wings, and fries. Oh, and I also had a cocktail. Our last show was The Music Man at the Winter Garden Theater. Hugh Jackman wasn't performing the night that we watched the show, but his understudy did a great job. And I got to see one of my favorite actresses, Sutton Foster. The entire cast was so talented, and it was a really entertaining show. After the show, my son wanted to walk through Times Square one more time before walking back to our hotel. On our way back to our hotel, we passed by this bakery called Angelina's. I decided to order some sweet treats to go. It was a sweet ending and a great way to end our trip in New York. We had a great time and can't wait to come back to see more sights in New York City.